And if you fill that in, we can enter you in the raffle for some Regis swag announced at the end of this Mappy hour.
And I would just share to everybody that I am recording the meeting, so just FYI. Yes.
All right, thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're going to start, welcome to Women in GIS, our GIS Day Kickoff Mappy Hour. We're really happy that you are here with our hosts, Anna Miller, Dr. Sheila Lashimi Steinberg. I'm very sorry about that middle last name, and myself, Carly Fitzgerald. We're really happy you're here. We have just a few slides we'd like to go through, and then we'd like to have a discussion. Anna, if you could maybe give a quick little bio who you are.
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Anna Miller. I'm currently acting as the president for Women in GIS. Prior to starting that, I was working with Women in GIS as the outreach lead and have been involved for a couple of years now and excited to be part of this.
Thank you. And Sheila, would you mind correcting me on the middle name and also doing a little quick bio?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Sheila Lakshmi Steinberg. My middle name is after my grandmother, but it's also an Indian goddess of wealth, beauty, and prosperity. So there you go. I got it going on. Nothing else needed to say. No, I'm a professor of GIS, social and environmental sciences out in California at Brandman University, soon to become UMass Global. Thank you.
And my name is Carly Fitzgerald. I am the lead for the Professional Development Committee in Women in GIS. And with Sheila, we host a lot of webinars and different events. I'm a GIS analyst located in Florida, and I'm in county government. So let's get going. So the agenda for these slides, real quick, we're just going to do a couple slides about Women in GIS, as well as tell you about some of our upcoming events. We're going to then follow that up with some discussion, a raffle, and hopefully have a pretty good conversation at the end of these slides. So what is Women in GIS? Anna, do you mind giving a quick little bio of Women in GIS?
Sure. So we are a 501c6 international professional and social advocacy group for women and their allies. All genders are welcome. And our aim is to help our members start and navigate their geospatial careers and to serve as a safe place for women from all geospatial fields to work towards overcoming job discrimination, lower pay, professional isolation, and other common barriers. And then we also foster relationships and resource sharing among our members. And we do all of this through the hard work of our different committees that Carly will talk a bit about in the coming slides.
Thank you. And we have our first poll on this slide. Sheila, can you launch that first question?
Sure. So
all right.
You can go ahead and read it, Carly.
Have you heard of Women in GIS before today? Is that a yes or a no? And we're going to go ahead and end that. I think everybody answered. So everybody is yes. So I don't need to go into full depth on the rest of these slides. I'm going to just briefly touch over them so that we keep you through to the end for the discussion. And I'm going to close this poll. Really quickly for Women in GIS, here's some of the faces of your executive board and committee leaders. We have our president, Anna Miller, here with us right now. And we have 6 different committees that I wanted to highlight here: communications, interview spotlight, map development, professional development, internal affairs, and our mentorship program. I'd like to, the mentorship program is really great if you know somebody that might still be in university and learning GIS. If you want to mention it to them, it's a really great opportunity to link up with somebody that is more experienced in the field and would be happy to help them grow professionally. Pros of membership: you get the newsletter. Make sure you have your email newsletter coming into your email. There's a lot of volunteer and elected position opportunities, professional development resources, local chapters that you can join and be active in, and some of the other things I mentioned, like mentorship. There's also another perk where if you sign up for teachmegis.com, you get a discount on those classes. And membership is relatively affordable. If you're an early career professional, it's only $20 and upwards. A professional is $40, you know, compared to a lot of the other professional organizations that I'm a member of. This is very affordable, especially for what you get out of it. There's also organizational levels and sponsorship levels. So if your business would like to become a partner, there's sponsorship opportunities. As well as volunteering. If you are working on your GISP and you need to put in some hours in the field with helping the GIS field grow, you can join one of our committees. So for example, the communications committee is looking for YouTube channel management. Internal affairs committee is looking for a volunteer with experience with fundraising and sponsorships. And we constantly have ongoing volunteer opportunities. So if you're interested in that, you can always reach out to us and kind of tell us what you'd be interested in. And we probably have a volunteer opportunity for you. I mentioned previously that Sheila and I work really hard on doing some webinars and different things like that. So upcoming webinars, I wanted to leave this on here, even though it says past. In October, we had Rebecca Jones, which was the geographer from Florida. We have a video recording of that. She was the one that was fired for refusing to alter some data to support Florida's reopening. And the webinar was really interesting, and there's a video link to it we can share if you're interested in seeing that video. In January 26th, we have Helen Thompson from Esri. And in March, we're going to be featuring Dr. Maria Fadiman from Florida Atlantic University. So we have a couple scheduled upcoming webinars that look really exciting, as well as some upcoming virtual discussions. So in December, we're going to have Emma Hall, and the subject is going to be around environmental science and GIS. We're also working on putting together a virtual discussion about nonprofit creation stories, as well as starting a GIS consulting firm. And some of the past topics that we've had and some of the upcoming topics, we try to cover a wide range of different things and different subjects. And one of the things that we'd like to do is elicit feedback from you about what kind of topics you're interested in hearing about. So Sheila, I believe we have this poll.
Yes.
Is this the one in the chat, or is this the...
No, I'm going to start a new one right now. Yeah. Okay.
Have you
sorry.
heard of...
Sorry, that's a different one. I have to pick a different poll. Sorry about that.
Hold on one second.
Yeah. So this is, what field of GIS do you currently work in? And you get to pick one of these. I will launch the poll.
There. Is it public, private, academic, nonprofit, or other? Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for answering. It looks like the majority of us are from the public sector. And I'm added into that as well in the public sector. Thank you, Sheila, for that poll.
Sure.
And we have another one for GIS Day celebrations. You're muted.
Let me launch that poll right now.
Do you celebrate GIS Day every year? Yes or no? And it looks fairly split. So for those of you that are yes, we're right there with you. We're happy to celebrate. And those of you that don't celebrate every year, we're happy you're here joining us this year. Going to close this poll and open it up for discussion. So before we get into some chat and everything, I just wanted to remind you that Anna put the link to our raffle, which will be coming up in another slide or so. So make sure you fill out that Google form so that you're entered for the raffle at the end of our discussion. And Sheila, would you like to jump into discussion?
Sure. So as always, when we meet with our women in GIS, we like to hear from you to find out who you are, maybe where you work or what kind of work do you do, and then also what are you really excited about that you're working on right now? So why don't we start with Sarah Fox?
Okay. There was a lot of stuff there. So the last one I heard was like what you're most excited about you're working on.
Yeah.
We have a project ending at the beginning of December. So super excited about it because it's been a year-long project, and it's driving me bananas because at the end that's when you find everything that wasn't working that you thought was working, and we found a lot that there was miscommunication. So it's been so that's why I'm like multitasking. I'm listening and like sending test data over right now. But it's going to be so beautiful when this is done. And it's like the effort of two different groups coming together who don't know each other's lingo, making something work. So it's been pretty exciting, and it'll be so good once it's done. That's my Christmas present.
Great.
Can I ask, Sarah, who do you work for?
I work for the city of Lubbock.
Oh, okay, great.
Texas. Okay. And what kind of a topic is it? Is it a topic you can share?
Yeah. So we're combining because we maintain the addresses for the city, but the electricity people were kind of having their own address system going on based off their needs, but then it was causing confusion. So because they base it more off like where the meters are based instead of the physical address of the house. So it was causing a lot of confusion. So now they're going to try to integrate our addresses into theirs. So making 100,000 addresses match between two systems. Mm-hmm. And then we also do the calculations like for stormwater. So whenever a new house is built, new buildings built, we do the calculations and send it over to them. And that's right now a manual process. So in all of this, we're making it an automated process. So that's great. Pretty fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Love your enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So how about moving on to Becca? Becca Borson, do you mind telling us where you work, and then what are you working on now that you're excited about?
Sure. I'm not sure if you were able to hear me earlier on, but can everybody hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
The classic Zoom question. So I work for the Oregon Department of Transportation, and some of the more recent exciting GIS work that I've done has been supporting all the wildfire efforts that we've had. So September we had a ton of wildfires that went over to the western part of the state, which is sort of an abnormal experience for Oregon. And so just producing static and electronic web applications for road recovery and things like that. So I think that's probably been one of my more interesting projects recently.
That's great. Thank you so much. It sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
And what city are you in right now, or town?
So I live in Dayton, Oregon. Okay. The ODOT office that I work in when normally in the office is in Salem, Oregon.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Thank you so much. Really exciting. How about Ariana? Ariana, do you mind unmuting and telling us a little bit about yourself and maybe what you're excited about with what you're working on in GIS?
Sure. So I am in North Carolina. I work for Union County Public Works. So I work mostly with water and wastewater data. So long term, we're looking at migrating to the utility network. So that's exciting, scary, but exciting. It's going to be a lot of work. Short term, we're getting some emergency management maps set up. So we're using Esri's template for the road closures and the water outages and things like that that are a little more lightweight than the utility network. So I'm excited to see those go live.
That's great. Yeah. How's the weather over there in North Carolina?
It just got cold, so it was pretty warm last weekend, but it dropped down. I think we're in a freeze warning tonight, so
Okay.
a little chilly.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you. I'm going to turn it back to Anna Miller for her to tell us a little bit about what she does and what she's excited about.
Sure. So when I'm not doing women in GIS things, I actually get paid to work for Driscoll's. I'm the GIS platform manager for the Berry company. And I'm actually just finishing up a project where we're working on, it's a forecasting based project based from our geospatial platform, where we're feeding weather information into at all of the growing locations, and then seeing how that's impacting down the line. There's like a little bit of a delay. So for example, we'll have like a heat event, and then we'll see 2 weeks later, we'll see our quality drop or our yield drop, and sort of being able to predict that and how it's going to impact the rest of the supply chain, so we can be more transparent and also more proactive about any measures that we take going forward, which working with weather data has been really interesting, especially since we grow globally. So being able to find quality data all the way across on daily or even hourly levels has been really fun and a big headache. And I'm excited to be wrapping it up. I think it's going to have some pretty big implications for the workflow that we have.
That's great. I didn't even know you did stuff with weather. So pretty exciting.
Oh yeah. It's fairly new to me. And so it's interesting that it's taken me and our company in general this long to really sort of steer into that, since we are agriculture.
Right.
But nothing in such like a concentrated effort. It's just kind of been a few people here and there that have played.
Oh, really interesting stuff. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, going on now to Carly Fitzgerald. If you could tell us a little bit about where you work, and then also what are you excited about these days?
Well, I started working for Highlands County in Florida just over a year ago, maybe a year and a half, and they brought me on as their ArcGIS Online guru. They did not have a lot of experience building applications and doing anything online. And, you know, since I've been there, I've built some applications for them, but the one that I'm really excited about right now is, I call it my waste feedback, waste collection feedback solution. And it's essentially, you know, you start out with a survey 1, 2, 3 form that's customer facing. So if somebody has a missed garbage collection or bulk waste pickup that was missed, they just fill out this form. You know, what was your address, what type of waste was missed, and that form feeds into a web map, which is part of a dashboard. And I set up that dashboard so that anybody internally from either the vendor, the waste management company, or within the county can manage all of that incoming data and to look at, you know, where is this happening? Is there a certain neighborhood this is happening a lot? Do we need to do some public awareness campaigns and get them, you know, like recycling is one of our big ones that a lot of contaminated loads come back because they aren't putting in the right things all the times. Or is it a certain route that is having the problems? So I put in a lot of functionality with like the smart editor for the staff to go in and update records once they contacted the owner and found out what the problem was. And really excited about that.
That's great, Carly. That sounds really cool, like a great way to apply, you know, to solve a problem, use GIS to solve a problem. So great.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that online because I can be creative. I don't, you know, I don't mind doing normal sitting at a desk, all kinds of GIS work with data. I enjoy that as well. But getting the ability to build applications, it lets me have that creative side as well.
Yeah, totally cool. Thank you so much. So I think I got everybody. And I think I will turn it back to you now, Carly.
Oh, thank you. We'd like to hear maybe a little bit more from you guys if there's any pressing issues in GIS world that you might like to learn more about or hear about, or segments of GIS that you feel is underrepresented. Sarah, is there anything that you might like to hear about in the GIS sphere?
No, the few times I've got to listen to, I thought those were really good. Like, I didn't even know some of the stuff was like an issue or never thought about it, you know, like the politics of it and stuff. I was like, what? So I'm learning. So it's eventually I'll have questions.
And Ariana or Rebecca?
Nothing that I can think of.
Okay. And Ariana?
This is Becca, and I don't have, or sorry, did I just cut somebody off?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I don't really have anything that I can think of off of the top of my head, but I just wanted to say that I attended the Rebecca Jones webinar, and that was so fascinating and probably one of the more interesting webinars that I think I've attended in a long time. And so, you know, just having, I don't know, that was just really great. So things like that, I guess, is very topical, and it just brought so many different items to the table, like women in GIS, sort of like whistleblowing. So I don't know, but it's very interesting. So thank you for hosting that.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. And we're really happy to hear it. And we're thinking about, one of the things we're kind of planning on is maybe doing a discussion like this the day after our big webinars, to just kind of meet with some of the attendees and see what they thought about it. So we'd love to hear feedback like that, and maybe make it into a little event like this as well in the future.
Yeah, because it's really cool for us to learn from you all what you like, what you don't like, what resonated, what didn't resonate. And I think that's really one of the mandates we're trying to accomplish with Women in GIS, because a lot of times you are kind of an outpost out there by yourself, and you're surrounded by a lot of men, or increasingly there's more women, but still there's always that kind of stereotype and view of women and what they're good at and what they're not good at. And especially when it comes to leadership. And so these are some of the things we hope to highlight and be able to talk about as we empower each other along this road.
I actually have, I thought of a question when everyone else was talking, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So like our department's actually predominantly women, and so that's really awesome. Like, but it would be cool to have like discussions on like how to deal like with women, like how to be supportive, and not like just seem like asinine almost, you know, like sometimes you're just so supportive, you're just like are so false. So how to actually be supportive, but then also like how to deal with people who don't want, because like I'm starting to sit here in Lubbock, and most people are like excited about it, but there's a couple of women who are very upset about it because they're like, well, you're excluding men, like why? And I was like, no, like this, like, hey, men can join too, like, you know, if there's like, this is just supporting women, but they're just very, why are you making a women's only group, you know? And I'm like, well, you're a woman, like you so you know the struggles that have happened, you know? So it's just like how to deal with women who are against you in the workplace, especially if they're your superior.
So interesting.
Yeah, it looks like Sheila's writing it down. I'm writing it down too.
Yeah, because we assume it's men. Go ahead, Carly.
Sheila, you're exactly right. We assume a lot of the problems with discrimination and that ideology stems from men, but it's not. It's on both sides of the fence, and especially, you know, how to be supportive without being asinine, like you said. It's yeah, definitely. And advocacy is it's a subject that's in the news a whole lot right now, especially with Black Lives Matter. And there was recently I attended a talk with New England ERISA, and they had an ethics advocacy kind of talk, and it was about 1 hour, 4 of us talking about advocacy and what we're doing in the field and things like that. And it was really mind-blowing for me personally. And, you know, I was one of the invited guest speakers just for what I do with Women in GIS, but I was the novice, the junior to the other people in this panel. And some of the stuff that they do is just really impressive. And some of the organizations that they work with are really forward thinking with advocacy. So it would probably a really good idea for, you know, like Sheila and I, maybe to reach out to them and see if they would like to do a panel like that for women in because it was really impressive, the amount of social advocacy that they have under their belt, and how far they've gone already.
That would be great. And I see we've been joined by someone named Roland. Roland, welcome.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey.
Good. Thanks for coming to our event.
Yeah, no worries. I was cruising LinkedIn and saw GIS Day, and then saw this and was like, oh, it's on now. Okay, I'll see what's going on.
Great. Roland, do you mind telling us a little bit about where you work and what you do at GIS?
Sure. Yeah, I work for Intel, working on geospatial solutions and the application of artificial intelligence to geospatial solutions. So my background's not GIS specifically. It's more on the technology, like the software side. But I've spent the last couple of years doing pretty heavy GIS related activities.
Okay, great, Roland. And just as a heads up, we are recording this session. We started at the beginning, but since you joined late, just giving you the 411 on that. So thank you.
No problem. Thanks.
Carly, turning it back to you.
We asked earlier about GIS Day, and I was kind of surprised. I thought most of us would have said that we celebrate GIS Day every year. For the couple of us that do, or even the ones that don't do it every year, do you mind me asking how you celebrate GIS Day? Like, what does your organization do, or what do you do normally for GIS Day? Becca, I see you. I think Becca is unmuted. I'm going to jump to her first.
This is Becca. So we've done a few things within ODOT in the past few years, and they've been hit or miss, and so I think that's sort of why we celebrate it sometimes and why we don't sometimes, just because it's usually it's like outreach centric activities, either largely directed at the public or just the broader staff at ODOT. And so yeah, one year we did like a kind of like a digital newsletter that was directed to staff and tracked like the analytics associated with it, and had a really low view rate. And then we've done things where we've supported other state or like local agencies in their GIS Day efforts by like having a booth at like the state capitol and things like that.
That's really cool. Yeah, and I totally feel you on that, that up and down, it kind of depends on the year. So I feel you on that. We do the same thing in my organization. Like some years we do a whole lot more. We do training classes and little, seminars and stuff. And then the next year we might just be a little busy for us, and we celebrate in the office, but that's about it. Anna, it looks like you had something you want to say.
Yeah, I can talk to mine. I think it's a little bit different in my case. I'm the only GIS person in my organization. We have an army of users, but none that consider themselves to be GIS professionals, to my knowledge. And so I don't know if a lot of them actually know what GIS Day is. So my GIS days tend to be pretty mellow and kind of just set to like an email to to our super users as like, hey guys, today's GIS Day. Did you know what you do is considered GIS? And then because we include a little bit of larger groups on there, I'll usually include, hey, by the way, so just back up a little bit of why we do this. So we have an army of users who are collecting data like in our growing areas, and it's really hard work. Very humbling work, the kind of GIS surveying that they do. It's a lot of work, but the type of analysis that all of that data collection affords us is huge for the organization. And so I'll usually try to include, by the way, here's the types of problems that we've solved this year using your data. Here's the type of analysis we've done this year using our data and using your data. And so usually that's like the kind of list that I do. But then I'll also include, this is really nerdy, but like certain map jokes go into that same email and overview, as well as like a fun map, usually because it's so close to like Thanksgiving. I'll do like the agriculture behind your Thanksgiving dinner, because we are
Oh.
an ag company, and send a map
Yeah.
that's like, here's where, you know, most turkeys come from, and here's where the, you know, population of yams across the US and stuff like that. So it kind of depends. It's all pretty nerdy and pretty much just a digital, like, email wise, but a lot of it is like, enjoy GIS, it's GIS day, thanks for all your hard work. So that's the most of what I do.
Sheila, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just going to share, I brought GIS to my university, and so this is the first year that people are kind of talking about it, our outreach and our education, and we're joining forces somewhat with my husband's GIS day, because he's the Geographic Information Officer for LA County. Now LA County is humongous, and they do a big shindig. They do a 2-day event, and they have all kinds, because they're so big, they have so many different speakers coming in and doing stuff. And I'll put the link in the chat if anybody's interested, because it could be really cool. And I agree, seeing some of these comments come in the chat, I think it's really cool, Anna, what you're doing, sharing the agriculture out. I think, you know,
Thank you.
as we think, it's really cool. And as we think about how do we talk to people about GIS, I have to spend a lot of time talking to people who don't know what it is. And so it's a matter of like, well, what can it do for you? What can it do that's really cool? You're already a user of it. I really like that, what you're saying. So I think that's a really great approach. So I'll get the link if anybody wants to sign up for the LA County one. It's free, and you don't have to be from California to go to it, but it might be interesting for some of you. Yeah.
Sarah?
Yeah, so this was like the 3rd year that Lubbock's been celebrating GIS Day. So the first year, I didn't even know about it 3 years ago, but this one girl in police, she set up this huge presentation hall and had speakers and had vendors and everything. Like, it was like a mini little, forgot the word, but it was a huge event, so it was really amazing. And then she left the city. And so the next year comes along and everyone's like, oh, where's GIS Day? And then, you know, everyone's like, someone should do it. So finally I was like, I'll do something. So one of the other girls had an idea, because she does cemetery data, and she was like saying how veterans don't have, like, we don't know where the veterans are. So I was like, well, we have a collector app for that. So we put together a collector app and had everyone spend the day out at the cemetery collecting veteran headstone locations. And then we got like 17% of the cemetery covered last year. So this year we're going to do that again, but we're going to do it over the whole week, starting tomorrow through Sunday. So maybe the whole cemetery will get done. And then we're also in the morning having several presenters present like just different aspects of the GIS, because that part was missed from the first time.
I love that. That is such a cool way to do what you can, especially with Veterans Day being so close to this holiday too. That is such a cool use of GIS. I love that.
Yeah,
I do too. Yeah, go ahead.
The Reads Across America people, they're going to use the data. They actually came out too, and they learned how to map. And they want to know where the veterans are, because they don't know how many breeds ever to get out. And then someone's always offended. They're like, well, you didn't put my husband on there. Well, because they couldn't find their husband, you know? So it's going to help a lot of people.
Sarah, what's your do you mind putting your contact info in the chat? It'd be great to follow up with you on that, because that's really cool.
Of course. And I'll put our GIS Day
link
in there also.
Yeah,
Anna's actually presenting for us, because she is amazing.
that's great. That's great. I love that cemetery idea. I mean, you know, I know a guy who does a lot with cemeteries in East LA, in these old cemeteries where sometimes you think people have forgotten about the people, you know, because they're so old, and you wonder who's even tracking, like who's even coming back, the family members. But then that kind of data is so important, I think, and interesting. Thank you.
Really, really interesting. And thank you for the links. And
I like how we have the same, like it's like exactly the same GIS Day, like with our cities on there for the. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think Ariana, we haven't heard about your GIS Day experience?
Sure. I've never really celebrated it because I've never worked anywhere that did anything for GIS Day. You know, we may have done something this year if it wasn't for COVID, but we don't really have a lot of bandwidth where I work. I'm in my department, it's me and my boss that are GIS people, and then there's a separate GIS team for the county. But you know, we just don't interact with them a whole lot, especially now that we're all working from home. So I think probably the biggest GIS Day celebration that I've heard of here in North Carolina is the city of Raleigh. So I submitted a story map to they have like a map gallery going on, and they have presentations and all kinds of things going on tomorrow. So I'll check that out if I can.
That's cool. Thank you. That is really cool. And I know your situation, what you're saying is that for a lot of people, they're the only one. They're the only GIS person there, kind of like Anna. So you have to get a little creative.
Yeah, I love your idea, Sarah, about the cemetery. That's a great plan.
Thank you, everybody, for sharing those. It's really interesting. And this is kind of why I love doing this and having these smaller little discussions with other users, is we learn some really interesting stuff like the turkey map and the cemetery work that you're doing, Sarah. It's really, really cool. I know some of you have put up your hub links to your GIS Day stuff, and I just started getting into our hub pages and working with them. And when you asked about, you know, like what's a cool project to share that you're working on, I wanted to go for the big project, so I told you about the waste management thing. But I just built a virtual silent auction for my organization on a hub page, because you know, every year we have to do all the departments in our county do a fundraiser for the United Way, and we wanted to do something that was COVID safe, so we're doing a virtual silent auction. And I with some help from my husband that helped me do some of the code and HTML stuff on the back end and helped me, you know, make everything look right. We built this hub page that it's collecting information with Google Forms, and then displaying like the top bids in a Google sheet. And it's just really cool. And I didn't know, you know, if I would be able to do it with that, but it was really fun and it looks really cool. So I'm excited about that. I had a question.
It'll come back.
Okay.
It'll come.
Sheila, do you have another leading question for us?
Yeah, just, you know, when you're thinking about your career, and maybe, you know, you think about yourself and how you are, your personality, what interests you, like, do you think there's any, this has come up to me in a few different realms, so I want to ask you guys this question. Do you think there's certain traits about a person who gets involved with using GIS, like creativity or being technically inclined? Like, did you like math? Like, I hated math, but I liked GIS. But, you know, so I don't want to say that. I don't want to equate the two, but I want to just ask you all, kind of how were you when you were younger and then you kind of got into this career? Are there certain things about your personality that you think maybe led you into this? And we'll start with whoever might want to begin. Carly, let's start with you. You look like you're smiling there.
When I was a little kid and going on car rides, I always wanted to have a map. And I always, even if I didn't have a map with me, I'd be sitting in the back seat of the car. And like I went on road trips with my grandparents across the US and stuff. And they said that no matter where we were, what we were doing, I knew what direction we were facing. And it always blew their mind. They're like, how does she, from the back seat, she can't even see out of the window. What is she referencing right now?
Yeah.
I didn't know how much I liked geography then, but I did always have this spatial, you know, mindset, I guess, from when I was a little kid. But, you know, when I went to college, I went for meteorology, and then I went for marine biology before I settled into geography when I took a mapping elective. So I I guess I always had like a sense of direction, a kind of spatial sense to me, but I think my favorite geographical trait that keeps me in GIS is I'm very like logical and analytical. Like I like to dig into the data and make sure that what I'm doing makes logical sense. And probably even, you know, with some of my coworkers, it might drive them nuts because no, it has to be right. It has to make sense and it has to flow logically, or else it's just, I'm not happy with it at all. So that's my thoughts on that.
That's so interesting. Yeah, really great. How about you, Sarah? Or any things about you growing up that you're not surprised you ended up in this field?
No, I didn't even know about, I didn't think maps were a thing until I was an adult in college and I took a class and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is amazing. So I had no precursor anything towards this. So, but once I discovered, I was like, you can map things. Like it never clicked. So I'm glad I found it when I did.
Yeah, and would you say, were you like, as a kid growing up, were you kind of into science or more the arts or literature? Science? Yeah.
Like I loved like making quilts and stuff like I sewed, like I was like into that, and I'm detailed because I had a button collection. My favorite thing was organizing it.
Oh.
I was legit. And but then like also like I love science and stuff. Like I took engineering classes and logic classes just for fun, and so I was just all over the place. But I guess like it's awesome with maps, you get both worlds because I love data creation.
Right.
And then I also love, you get to make a map out of it. So I think it's great for everyone, you know, there's every single aspect you could want in GIS.
That's cool. Yeah. How about you, Ariana? Tell us about yourself a little bit when you were younger and the kind of stuff you liked.
Sure. So I've always liked science. I like science. I like math. So I am a math person.
Yeah.
I like that. I would say I'm pretty analytical and detail oriented. And what Carly was saying about having to make sure everything is right and makes sense really resonates with me. I'm definitely the same way. I actually got my bachelor's degree in geology. Oh, wow. So I only took one GIS class in undergrad, and then kind of ended up in a GIS/database role, and then went back and got like a 1-year certificate in GIS, basically, that I just finished up last year, 2 years ago, not very long ago.
Oh, congratulations on that.
Thanks. So yeah, it wasn't where I expected my career to go, but I like it.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's great. You never know how you're going to start out, where you're going to end up. So thank you for sharing. How about you, Becca?
Sure. Sorry, it took me a long time to get to the mute button.
No.
So I guess one thing that I do think is very interesting about people in GIS is that it seems it's never like short on diversity in terms of like how people got into the career or what they studied. And as for me, growing up, I was definitely into like science and math and art. That is until I got to like the high school and college level, and science became incredibly difficult for me to understand and pass classes. So in college, I did an environmental studies degree, and I took a lot of geography courses, but they were physical and social geography. And I just loved them. I found them to be super interesting. Like I could understand them. I could get, good grades in those classes, and also felt like it was sort of fulfilling like the desire to be in science, even though I didn't really, like struggled with like biology and chemistry and stuff like that. I had no idea what GIS was. I took a one summer course on geomorphology, and at the end of it, the professor teaching it just like showcased a project on LiDAR, and I was like, lasers, GIS, I don't know what that is, never going to use it, irrelevant, moving on. Like, was like, what am I going to do with technology in my career? And so that's how that my like, background in education was. And then when I got out of college, I was doing a lot of like field surveys for like natural resources departments in Oregon, and collecting data on like GPS units, and like being given field maps by project leaders. And it was sort of like this like, ooh, magic behind the curtain, like, you know, just as like an entry level like field technician, like, oh, you don't need to worry about this. Like, oh, give me the GPS unit, I'll manage the data. Here's your map. Like, don't worry about it. And so just like kind of like having it be this forbidden thing, just like motivated me to figure out what it was like. And so I just slowly started figuring out how to integrate it into work and find people to give me a chance on using it and stuff, and then just developed a career from there, I guess.
Oh, that's cool. And Ariana says geomorphology is my jam. So you have a fellow cohort in here with you. So great. Thank you. Really cool. All right. Anna Miller, the leader, our fearless leader, tell us about when you were young. What kind of stuff were you into?
I will say first, I'm only fearless because I have really awesome teams working with me. Otherwise, my job would be terrifying.
There you go. There you go.
But so I really didn't put these pieces together. It's funny you should say this, until really recently. I worked with Chris, I'm going to butcher his last name, but Chiapinelli with Esri, who helped write a Forbes article. And he had really put this into terms that I had never actually thought about. And then once he did, I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. But so when I was younger, I, like Sarah, was really a little bit more into the arts and creation, and really like loved that sort of stuff. And for a long time, I wanted to be an author. In language arts, I like really loved how just it didn't have to be black and white. It was gray and blue and purple, and everything was, it didn't have like a very set logic. And then as I got older, I really got into the STEM fields, and I loved science, and ended up going to undergrad for marine biology, and then picked up GIS from there, and just kind of full on steered into the black and white and the logic of science, which I really loved. And GIS just kind of melded those two passions for me. And while I really don't enjoy writing anymore, I think that GIS just kind of meets that perfect halfway point where I can tell stories with maps, and it just is the best of both worlds for me. So I think that Chris was the one who put that into words that just kind of like blew my mind really recently.
That's cool. Well, you have to make sure you share that article with us. We'll definitely want to read it.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
it's
up on my link. It's up on my LinkedIn, actually.
Okay.
But I'll be sure to link it over.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be cool to do a discussion around. Perhaps,
thank you.
You know, that'd be great.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to turn it back to Carly, our hostess. Go ahead, Carly.
This year has been challenging for a lot of people, especially with COVID. A lot of things have changed. So I know some of us might be working from home, or even just if we're still in the office, our work environment has changed. So I'm just going to kind of open it up as like a dream here. If you had your ideal work environment, now that you've experienced working from home, you've experienced some different changes. We have some people with small, they're the only person GIS departments. We might have some bigger GIS department people here. If you could describe your ideal GIS work environment, what would that be? Sheila, you haven't answered a question yet.
I got off the hook, right? I'm just used to asking them, not answering them. Okay, so my ideal GIS work environment would not be in COVID. It would be, I kind of like when I go to Esri a lot, Esri headquarters, because I'm the liaison to Esri for my university. So I'm always down there when it's not COVID. And one of the cool things about Esri is they have very modernistic design, these really cool open buildings, and there's a lot of, like, you walk into a lot of open spaces where people have offices, and they have really great, wonderful coffee machines, fancy coffee machines. But I think having a beautiful open space like at Esri where
Mhm.
it's kind of more open so that if you're collaborating, you could go over here and get person X, Y, or Z. And then
Mhm.
there's lots of conference rooms that are surrounded by beautiful nature with glass. And so having that kind of, to me, like nature and creativity are very tied together. And so you see this picture behind me. I came from Humboldt County. That's where I was a professor for probably about 12 years before I moved to Southern California. And there's just something very creative about being in nature. And I feel like
Mhm.
in that workplace, if you could bring it into that, it makes people kind of just relax
Mhm.
and not feel corporate, but feel like, oh,
Mhm.
just, I don't know how to get the creative vibe going.
I like that. Yeah. Ariana?
Yeah, that's funny that you're from Humboldt. That's where I got my degree in geology.
Oh, really?
And that's where I went back to the geospatial certificate also. So
what year? My husband ran that program, but we left in 2011. When were you there?
I graduated with my BA in geology in 2011.
Oh, maybe he knows you. I don't know. His Steve Steinberg's my husband, so he used to do the certificates up there. That's so cool. What's your last name, Ariana?
It's Mercer.
Okay.
But
Cool.
I didn't go back for the GIS certificate until a couple years ago. So
Okay, so he's been gone, but
yeah.
cool. Humboldt, yeah. So you recognize the picture behind, like that kind of scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Up there.
Yeah.
But to get back to the question of where I'd like to work, I'm also a fan of Esri's spaces. I've been to their office out here in Charlotte, and it's, it's in a big office building, but it's very like modern and lots of glass everywhere. So a lot of open spaces and like screens everywhere, big conference rooms. I like being able to collaborate with people. And that's definitely been a challenge working from home. And, some people are more communicative than others. So trying to figure out that balance of who wants to chat all day on the instant messenger and who does not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, I'll be happy when we can go back and have a little more in-person collaboration.
That's great.
Thank you. And before I get to the next person, Anna, I just wanted to say hi to Lemmy since they're making a debut. Hi. I'm all for pets and Zoom chats. So yeah.
What's your dog's name? What's his name?
This is Lemmy.
Lemmy.
And I was telling Carly, I wish I had thought to put Lemmy in he has a little Women in GIS shirt. And I didn't think to put him in it today, but I totally should have.
Next time.
Next time for sure.
Lemmy's cute.
Thank you. He was feeling left out, so I had to add him. Now he was barking, so I had to pick him up.
Thank you. And I think we're going to ask Ariana and Sarah then second to answer this question. And I think we're going to wrap up this discussion with that raffle that we were talking about. So Ariana, the ideal work environment.
We already got to me, but I think.
Oh, sorry. I keep confusing you with Ariana. I'm so, or you and Becca. I'm so sorry. So Becca.
My ideal work environment, I think from like having like an espresso machine on every desk and lots of windows and natural lighting and plants and stuff. I think especially being in COVID, I was really excited about working from home, and now I just like realize how much like collaborating and interacting with people just activates this portion of my brain that like leads to success that's missing. And so I just really want that that component back, where especially when you're like trying to work on something like collaborative or like learning a new process, or all of that seems that's definitely a difficult thing right now, whereas in an office setting or with like coworkers, it's more productive, and I don't know, just higher functioning, I guess, versus just being at home.
I hear you, definitely. And so far the theme has been, we kind of miss collaboration, which I hear you. You know, that's been the year, hasn't it? Sarah.
Well, I didn't get to work from home too much. We did like a 1 day home kind of thing for a bit, for like 2 months, I think. But I got really tired of it and was like, no, I have my own office. I'm just gonna stay in the office. Like, I'm separated, it's fine. But if I could have, because I have crappy internet in my house, so my connection kept breaking. But if I could just transpose my office to my house, that would be the best work environment. Because I could have my computer, my fast internet, and then no one to bother me. That would be ideal. Except for my dogs, you know, because they like to help me work.
Did I get everybody? Anna, did you?
I didn't. I can give a quick answer. I know we're running down the clock. I'm actually really loving working from home right now. I admit working in yoga pants every day is great. And I do miss, I didn't really necessarily have the collaborative nature before, just being the only GIS person. And so any amount of collaboration I did was usually virtual anyways. But the one thing that I am starting to miss, and I didn't think I would, is that Driscoll's especially is really good at putting on events for employees that just bring people from other departments and everything people usually wouldn't interact with together in like a more social environment. And I do tend to be a little bit more introverted in a situation like that, but it usually was an opportunity to meet with other people. So like they would do like an Oktoberfest thing, or they would have usually around this time of year, they do like a big like gift wrapping thing for whatever like boxes of love and stuff like that, gifts for whatever charity we were working with that year. So stuff like that I do miss. But I have to say, being able to be really focused in my own office and my own home and not have the people who like pass by, oh, good, you're here, can you pop into this meeting? Or, oh, hey, I have a question for you, is I feel like I've been really productive these last couple of months. So working from home has actually been great.
I'm with you on that. I'm the work from home. I love working from home. And it's, you know, the hour in the morning of getting ready and driving into work, I get that back to myself. I can read a book, I can relax, I can sleep in, I can take a nap during lunch, you know, like it's my time again. And it's been, you know, as stressful as this year has been with COVID, it really helps with mental health to have that time back to yourself. It's 3 hours of my day that I'm not spent, you know, getting my makeup and hair done, getting dressed, driving into work, or sitting, you know, at my desk during lunch, because I don't really want to go out to any restaurants right now. So it's 3 hours of my life I get every day back to myself. The only way that I would improve it and do my ideal work environment would be for my office to be in an RV parked in a state park with like a view. I could just open my windows and sit there and work and look at nature. That would be the only improvement. Is I'd love to travel and see everything in the US and, you know, see different places and work remotely, since I can already do it, you know, but right now I want to, you know, work from home for 2 weeks and go into the office for 1 week schedule. And I'm thinking about taking that 1 week off and kind of just work remotely for a month and travel. So thank you everybody for all of your feedback in this discussion. It's been really interesting, and we've learned a lot about everybody here and that cool stuff that you work on. So I'm going to advance this slide to the next one, and make sure that you filled out that form for Anna with all of your names. There should be some names there, Anna, for you. And while we get that going real quick, I just wanted to tell you, you know, we're going to be raffling off a couple of our mugs from our Cafe Press store. And so here's the link to that store, as well as if you could follow us on Twitter, or you could visit our website. And also on our website, you see I have this Women in GIS Day background art behind me. We have some that we put up on our website. I think there's about 10 or so that you can pick from. So if you're doing any more activities for GIS Day tomorrow, you can go and grab one of them, download it, and have a GIS Day virtual background. So Anna, I'm gonna pass it to you for the raffle.
All right. I'm just generating in our random generator right now.
Do you want me to let you share share the screen? I can stop my share.
I can. Give me just a second. Oh, where did my random generator go? Hold on.
Okay.
See, she's so math. She has a random generator.
Mhm.
That's cool.
I admit, Carly gave it to me, but
That's cool. It's like bingo.
Mhm. G47.
Yeah, exactly.
all right. And oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Hold tight, guys. Okay. So we'll go ahead and first name to go. Congratulations, Sarah. First winner of a We Just mug. I did see that we have your email in, and so we will connect with you afterwards to get your address so that we can send it. And then we'll go ahead and pick another name. And congratulations, Ariana, our other We Just mug winner.
Yay.
Yay.
Connect with both of you all via email to get your addresses to send you a We Just mug. And if you would like to send us a picture of you with your We Just mug, feel free. We'd love to circulate it on social media, but no pressure if you're not wanting your photo circulated.
Anna, do you want to like also, well, there's like a We Just store if people want to buy stuff, right? Like,
there is, yeah. So that was on Carly's slide. That was the Cafe Press. So if you go to Cafe Press/Women in GIS, I believe it is.
I'm gonna share it.
Yes, if you could, that'd be great.
Oops, I shared that to one person. There we go. To everybody.
thank you.
Mhm.